The ideal encyclopedia should be radical. It should stop being safe. But if you know anything about the history of Britannica since 1962, it was anything but radical. Still a very completely safe, stodgy type of encyclopedia. Wikipedia, on the other hand, begins with a very radical idea. And that's for all of us to imagine a world in which every single person on the planet is given free access to the sum of all human knowledge. So how do we do this? How do we manage the quality control? How does it work? The biggest and the most important thing is our neutral point of view policy. This is something that I set down from the very beginning as a core principle of the community that's completely not debatable. It's a social concept of cooperation, so we don't talk a lot about truth and objectivity. The reason for this is if we say we're only going to write the truth about some topic, that doesn't do us a damn bit of good of figuring out what to write, because I don't agree with you about what's the truth. But we have this jargon term of neutrality, which has its own long history within the community, which basically says anytime there's a controversial issue, Wikipedia itself should not take a stand on the issue. We should merely report on what reputable parties have said about it. So this neutrality policy is really important for us because it empowers a community that is very diverse to come together and actually get some work done. So we have very diverse contributors in terms of political, religious, cultural backgrounds. By having this firm neutrality policy, which is non-negotiable from the beginning, we ensure that people can work together and that the entries don't become simply a war back and forth between the left and the right. If you engage in that type of behavior, you'll be asked to leave the community. So real-time peer review. Every single change on the site goes to the recent changes page. So as soon as he made his change, it went to the recent changes page. Users can set up their own personal watch list. So my page is on quite a few volunteers' watch lists because it is sometimes vandalized. And therefore, what happens is someone will notice the change very quickly, and then they'll just simply revert the change. There's a new pages feed, for example, so you can go to a certain page of Wikipedia and see every new page as it's created. This is really important because a lot of new pages that get created are just garbage that have to be deleted, you know, ASDF, ASDF. But also that's some of the most interesting and fun things at Wikipedia, some of the new articles. People will start an article on some interesting topic, other people will find that intriguing and jump in and help and make it much better. So we do have edits by anonymous users, which is one of the most controversial and intriguing things about Wikipedia. So Chris was able to do his change. He didn't have to log in or anything. He just went on the website and made a change. But it turns out that only about 18% of all the edits to the website are done by anonymous users. And that's a really important thing to understand, is that the vast majority of the edits that go on in the website are from a very close-knit community of maybe 600 to 1,000 people who are in constant communication. And we have over 40 IRC channels, 40 mailing lists. All these people know each other, they communicate, we have offline meetings. These are the people who are doing the bulk of the site, and they are, in a sense, semi-professionals at what they're doing. The standards that we set for ourselves are equal to or higher than professional standards of quality. We don't always meet those standards, but that's what we're striving for. And so that tight community is who really cares for the site. And these are some of the smartest people I've ever met. Of course, it's my job to say that, but it's actually true. The type of people who are drawn to writing an encyclopedia for fun tend to be pretty smart people. The tools in the software, there's lots of tools that allow us meaning the community, to self-monitor and to monitor all the work. This is an example of a page history on Flat Earth, and you can see some changes that were made. What's nice about this page is you can immediately take a look at this and see, oh, okay, I understand now. When somebody goes and looks at, they see that an anonymous IP number made an edit to my page. That sounds suspicious. Who is this person? Somebody looks at it. They can immediately see highlighted in red all of the changes that took place. Another thing that we do within the community is we leave everything very open-ended. Most of the social rules and the methods of work are left completely open-ended in the software. All of that stuff is just on wiki pages, and so there's nothing in the software that enforces the rules. The example I've got up here is a votes for deletion page. The question is this notable enough to go on encyclopedia? Is the information verifiable? Is it a hoax? Is it true? Is it what? So we needed a social method for figuring out the answer to this. And so the method that arose organically within the community is the votes for deletion page. And what's interesting about this is that the software these votes are they're just text typed into a page. This is not really a vote so much as it is a dialogue. Now it is true that at the end of the day, an administrator can go through here and take a look at this and say, okay, 18 deletes, 2 keeps, we'll delete it. But in other cases, this could be 18 deletes and 2 keeps, and we would keep it, because if those last 2 keeps say, wait a minute, nobody else saw this, but I found it in a book, and I found a link to a page that describes it, and I'm going to clean it up tomorrow, so please don't delete it, then it would survive. And it also matters who the people are who are voting. Like I say, it's a tight-knit community. Down here at the bottom, Keep Real Movie, Rick Kay. Rick Kay is a very famous Wikipedian who does an enormous amount of work with vandalism, hoaxes, and votes for deletion. His voice carries a lot of weight within the community because he knows what he's doing. The Wikipedia governance model, the governance of the community, is a very confusing but a workable mix of consensus, meaning we try not to vote on the content of articles because the majority view is not necessarily neutral. Some amount of democracy. All of the administrators, these are the people who have the ability to delete pages. That doesn't mean they have the right to delete pages. They still have to follow all the rules. But they're elected. They're elected by the community. Sometimes people, random trolls on the internet, like to accuse me of handpicking the administrators to bias the content of the encyclopedia. I always laugh at this because I have no idea how they're elected, actually. And then there's monarchy, and that's my role in the community. So within the free software world, there's been a long-standing tradition of the benevolent dictator model. So if you look at most of the major free software projects, they have one single person in charge who everyone agrees is the benevolent dictator. Well, I don't like the term benevolent dictator, and I don't think that it's my job or my role in the world of ideas to be the dictator of the future of all human knowledge compiled by the world. It just isn't appropriate. But there is a need still for a certain amount of monarchy, a certain amount of, sometimes we have to make a decision and we don't want to get bogged down too heavily in formal decision-making processes. So as an example of why this has been, or how this can be important, we recently had a situation where a neo-Nazi website discovered Wikipedia, and they said, oh, wow, this is horrible, this Jewish conspiracy of a website, and we're going to get certain articles deleted that we don't like, and we see they have a voting process, so we're going to send, we have 40,000 members, and we're going to send them over, and they're all going to vote and get these pages deleted. Well, they managed to get 18 people to show up. That's neo-Nazi math for you. They always think they've got 40,000 members when they've got 18, but they managed to get 18 people to come and vote in a fairly absurd way to delete a perfectly valid article. Of course, the vote ended up being about 85 to 18, so there was no real danger to our democratic processes. On the other hand, people said, but what are we going to do? I mean, this could happen. What if some group gets really seriously organized and comes in and wants to vote? Then I said, well, we'll just change the rules. That's my job in the community, to say we won't allow our openness and freedom to undermine the quality of the content. And so as long as people trust me in my role, then that's a valid place for me. Of course, because of the free licensing, if I do a bad job, the volunteers are more than happy to take and leave. I can't tell anyone what to do. So the final point here is that to understand how Wikipedia works, it's important to understand that our wiki model is the way we work, but we are not fanatical web anarchists. In fact, we're very flexible about the social methodology because it's ultimately the passion of the community is for the quality of the work, not necessarily for the process that we use to generate it. Thank you.